In this video, I will be tier ranking the Star Wars movies and shows up to the ACOLYTE. I will also give some of my thoughts on these movies and shows, and I'll try to keep it short, and then maybe in the future I could do more in-depth reviews for some of these movies and shows. The tiers. 1 with the Force. These are the best of the best. My favorite Star Wars content. Nothing beats these. You're on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master. Love them, but not top tier. This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the council and not be a master? I enjoy them, but not as much as the top 2 tiers, but they are still good. Mid, ACOLYTE. These aren't good, but they aren't great either. They are just mid. However, I do enjoy aspects of the movies and shows in this tier. And never watched, not really interested in watching. I haven't seen these and I don't plan on watching. Okay. A New Hope. These are in a release order, though, on this thing. A New Hope, 1 with the Force. Even though it is my least favorite movie of the original trilogy, I still love it. There's not really anything I don't like about this movie. I recently rewatched this movie about a couple weeks ago, and I forgot how much I actually enjoyed it. I love the chemistry and banter between Luke, Han, and Leia in this movie, especially scenes in the detention area of the ship, as well as the trash compactor scene. I find them hilarious. The Empire Strikes Back, 1 with the Force. This is my second favorite Star Wars movie. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when Luke first meets Yoda on Dagobah, and Yoda doesn't introduce himself just yet, and he acts like he's completely crazy. I just think that's really funny. There's not really anything I dislike about this movie. The I am your father scene will always be iconic. I think this movie is great. Return of the Jedi, 1 with the Force. This is my favorite Star Wars movie. I love all the scenes with Vader and Luke on the second Death Star, even their lightsaber fight. One of my other favorite scenes in the movie is the speeder bike chase in the Forest of Endor. I'm not sure the reason why, except that I think it's exciting and funny when that stormtrooper hits a tree because he wasn't watching where he was going. There isn't a thing I don't like about this movie. The Phantom Menace, mid ACOLYTE. I don't really care for this movie all that much. I really only watch this movie when I am rewatching the Star Wars movies for the 100th time. The things I like in this movie is the fight with Darth Maul, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan. I think that's about it. Attack of the Clones. This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the council and not be a master? I really loved this movie when I was little. It was my second favorite Star Wars movie at that time. It was also my favorite of the 3 prequels and still is. The dialogue is cringy at times, but that doesn't stop me from enjoying the movie. I love the action in this movie. I think that's the main reason I love the movie. However, I don't love it enough to put into the top 2 tiers. The 2003 2D Clone Wars show, mid ACOLYTE. I watched this earlier this year because I hadn't seen it, and I wanted to check it out. I didn't think it was all that great. It was kind of interesting, but I didn't really enjoy it all that much, and I didn't have many strong feelings for it. Revenge of the Sith. You're on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master. I think this movie is the best out of the prequels, but it's not my favorite of the 3, but it's close. I love this movie basically for the same reasons other people love it. I love the Obi-Wan and Anakin lightsaber fight. The Clone Wars movie, mid ACOLYTE. I slightly enjoyed this movie. Anakin, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and Captain Rex is really all I enjoyed in this movie. I thought some things were funny too, but I don't really care for it as much as I do the series. The Clone Wars series, One with the Force. I absolutely love this show. I think it's the best Star Wars animated show. I love most of the clones in the show. My favorite clone is, of course, Captain Rex. Even though I don't care much for the first season, I still love this show. Star Wars Rebels. You're on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of Master. I love the show, but not as much as I love the Clone Wars. I enjoy many of the episodes, and I thought a lot of things were funny. One of my favorite episodes is the one where we first see Captain Rex in the show, called The Lost Commander, and the episode that follows, Relics of the Old Republic. I also love the episode called Stealth Strike. It's the one where Kanan and Captain Rex go undercover as stormtroopers to rescue Ezra from the Empire. Their banter is hilarious. Anyways, I find Rebels highly enjoyable. The Force Awakens. You're on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of Master. I was 15 when The Force Awakens came out, and I was very excited to see it. It was the first Star Wars movie I saw in theaters, and I really loved it. I know the sequels weren't received well, and I understand that. The trilogy was very flawed, I'll admit that. But I think it's the best one. The best one was The Force Awakens. I still really enjoy the movie to this day. I was terrified of Snoke when I saw the movie in theaters. I thought he looked scary in the movie, and I still do. Rogue One. You're on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of Master. I think this movie is really good and interesting. I love the action. I really love the action. I don't think there is anything I don't like about this movie. The Last Jedi. This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the council and not be a master? I used to really love this movie when it first came out, and I rewatched it several times and still loved it. When I watched it in the theaters, I laughed when Luke threw the lightsaber, not because I thought it was funny necessarily, but because it seemed a little out of character for Luke to do that. That leads to why I've changed my mind a little, but not completely, about this movie. One of the problems I now have with a movie that I didn't used to have a problem with is Luke didn't seem in character, in my opinion. I came to this conclusion after I watched someone's YouTube video on how Luke was out of character and the reasons why he wasn't in character, and I agreed with the points that were made and reconsidered my thoughts on Luke in the movie. I rewatched the movie and I came to the same conclusion. I think I was blinded by my excitement to see Luke Skywalker that I didn't really notice that he seemed a little off. Another thing I didn't really care about in the movie was all the Canto Bight sequences. I feel like they dragged that on a bit too long. Other than that, I still like it, but I don't love it. I could add more, but this video isn't a Last Jedi review. Solo. This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the council and not be a master? I enjoyed this movie. I think it has an interesting story. However, it's not as good as Rogue One. The Resistance show, I have not seen that. And I don't plan on watching. The Mandalorian Season 1. One with the Force. Absolute perfection. There's not really anything I don't like about this season of The Mandalorian. I think it has a very interesting story, and I love Baby Yoda and the action in this season. The Rise of Skywalker. This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the council and not be a master? I enjoy this movie, especially the action. There are some things I don't care for in this movie, like Palpatine returning. I thought it didn't make sense for him to be in the movie, other than a bad guy for Rey to defeat. Also, Rey taking the Skywalker name at the end of the movie. I thought that was weird and it didn't feel right to me. I think the movie would be better off without that scene and end the movie on the shot of Poe, Rey, and Finn hugging. That seems like a better ending to me than the Rey Skywalker thing. Also, the pacing in this movie feels very rushed. The Mandalorian Season 2. One with the Force. I enjoyed this season as much as the first season, and for the same reasons. The Bad Batch Season 1. One with the Force. I really loved The Bad Batch Season 1. I think it has a very interesting story. I love all the members of the squad except for Crosshair. I don't really like him. Omega's alright, but I don't really care for her that much in this season. Hunter is my favorite Bad Batch member. He's also my second favorite clone. I'll be back. I'm going to get a drink of water. Okay, I'm back. Star Wars Visions. I don't know what that is. I haven't seen it. And I'm not really interested. The Book of Boba Fett. Mid-Echlorians. I didn't really care for the show all that much when I first watched it. There are aspects that I enjoy, but I found it to be mostly boring, especially the flashback scenes. He looks like Mr. Clean in some of those. I wasn't really interested until The Mandalorian showed up, which I wasn't expecting at all, and it kind of took me out of the show a lot. The only character that made me somewhat interested was the Twi'lek guy. I don't remember his name. I thought he was pretty funny. That was after my first watch. I had only seen it once, but I wanted to watch it again to see if my opinions have changed, and they have a little bit. One thing I'm very confused about is why Boba seems diplomatic, because we've never really seen him to be that way. He was more ruthless in the past and a serious, no funny business kind of guy. Not the type of person to be messed with. He's still a little bit ruthless, but still kind of diplomatic at the same time. I guess maybe his time with the Tusken Raiders made him humble or something, which I think he declined in the show or something like that. He said, one character said he went soft and he said no. Well, I might have just answered my own question. Anyways, it's not a great show, but it's also not too terrible. It's mid. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Mid-Echlorians. I don't really care for the show that much. When I first watched it, I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed a lot of it. But I didn't really care for the show as much as I did when I first watched it. I loved seeing Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. That's what kept me interested in the show. And Leia as well. Andor. You're on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master. I really enjoyed this show. I thought it had a very interesting story. It gets a little slow sometimes, and that's kind of why it's in the second tier and not the first. Tales of the Jedi. This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the council and not be a master? I enjoyed this show. I thought it was interesting, mainly the Dooku episodes. The Ahsoka ones were okay, but it didn't really add much to her character, in my opinion. The Bad Batch Season 2. One with the Force. I really loved this season of The Bad Batch, just as much as I loved the first season. Omega grew on me a little bit more this season. The Mandalorian Season 3, Mid-Echlorians. I didn't enjoy this season of The Mandalorian as much as the first 2 seasons. I wasn't really invested in the story. The only thing that kept me somewhat interested was Baby Yoda. That was the only character I was really worried about the entire season. But Visions 2 and The Young Jedi I haven't watched, and I don't care to watch. Ahsoka. This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can he be on the council and not be a master? I enjoyed the show. I thought a lot of the story was interesting. I really thought Balin was a cool character. The Bad Batch Season 3, One with the Force. I really enjoyed this last season of The Bad Batch. I'm sad the show is over. It was really good. Crosshair grew on me a little in this season, but I still don't really like him. Tales of the Jedi, Mid-Echlorians. I found this show somewhat interesting, but I still didn't care much for it. I sort of liked the Morgan Elsbeth episodes. I remember when Thrawn's assassin guy Rook showed up and I yelled excitedly, "It's Rook!" And then I remembered I didn't like him in Rebels. I didn't really care for the Barris episodes, so this show was mid. And lastly, the ACOLYTE, Mid-Echlorians. When the trailer for the ACOLYTE came out, it didn't really interest me, and I wasn't sure if I was going to watch the show. If I did, I decided that I was probably going to wait to watch the show until all the episodes were out, so I could watch it all at once. The main reason I watched the show was because I saw that many people were complaining about how, quote, bad the show was, and I wanted to see for myself if it was or not. I thought the show was just meh. I liked most of the action in the show. I thought the lightsaber battles were entertaining. My favorite character in the show was Soul. I thought he was interesting, and I think the actor who portrayed him did a great job. One of the criticisms of the show some people had that I agree with is how some of the writing isn't really the best. Anyway, it wasn't good, and it wasn't great either. Okay, so I decided that I wanted to start making Star Wars videos for a little while. I'm not sure what type of Star Wars videos I'm going to be doing yet, so I started with this one. I think the next Star Wars video I'm going to do is show all the Star Wars memorabilia I have, so look forward for that video. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. These rankings are my opinion, and most likely you won't share the same feelings on these movies and shows, but that's fine. Thanks for watching.